Good evening, and welcome to War with a Mate. It's James.
And Andy.
Andy, you just did a little belch into the mic. We'll have to try and trim that out.
I leaned away from the mic.
It doesn't matter, it picks up everything.
If it's that's by choice.
These are professional mics. These things are top quality. It's not the only thing that's top quality. Look at us. Two top quality fellows.
Sure, yeah.
I got a lot more sleep this week. I'm in much better spirits.
I'm
better
not sure
fettle.
if I actually prefer this.
Yeah, this is way better. This is more like it. This is me at peak performance. I'm here, baby. I'm ready. And boy, what a day it's been. We've made use of this energy. We have been churning through some of the game.
Yeah, well, finish the water distribution segment.
Fuck yeah, we did. We finished the water distribution segment. Everyone, well, not everyone. Some people don't have water. Unfortunately, not everybody got their thirst quenched.
Oh, my guys are getting a little drink at least.
Yeah, your guys are. Your guys are. Not the bad guys.
No.
We are not all getting water. Again, it's the royal we. I'm not a bad guy. I'm one of the good guys in real life. But in the game, I'm the bad guys in the game. So it's good that I didn't get water. But for the purposes of the game, it is important that I have water. But that's only one or two guys. For the most part, they got it, and it's not actually as bad as I thought it would be, distributing that water. Took a little while for us to get to grips with it, but we've passed it out. The big benefit is that we only need to give water to the infantry for now.
Yes.
All of the other units, the motorized ones, they only need water if they move. Turns out that's how cars work. They don't need a drink because they're thirsty. They need a drink to get moving.
Yeah, they sweat the water out.
They sweat it out when they drive.
So you need to feed the radiator.
Yeah, well, it comes out of their paws, the car paws.
Yeah.
That's actually, I imagine, a key point in one of the Cars films. I imagine they get into the anatomy of the cars and how that works.
Never seen them.
You've never seen any of the Cars films?
No.
That's embarrassing, really. I mean,
Is it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen a children's movie.
You were a child once, were you not? Yes or no?
When
Hot mic
Cars
question.
came out.
Yeah, you were when the first one came out.
Nah, it was more recent than that.
No. Oh, to be fair, you are. Was it 73 this year? So, yeah.
So we better get a move on with this.
Wow, we picked a really bad retirement hobby. This is. Well, I hope you've got your heir nominated.
I do.
Who is it?
I'm not telling you.
Oh, okay.
Because then you might prepare.
Yeah. Well, I didn't prepare this time round, so I suppose I
Part
should.
of my strategy is to die at the right time and hand over to a tactical genius.
So it's all about your succession plan to victory.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good way to prepare like a dynasty for this.
So yeah, I'm empire-minded, dynasty-minded.
I like it. So were the Italians in this instance, actually. So we've got a bit of that on both sides then. What we don't have, unfortunately, is Idris Elba. He didn't show up today, which is disappointing.
He will be hearing from our lawyers.
He'll be getting another email. This one won't be as polite.
This one will be even more pathetic.
Between him and Michael McIntyre, the world of showbiz is becoming a real antagonist for this podcast. But we've made it through the water phase, so right now we don't need to worry about that. We're all in good spirits, or at least I am. I'm in very good spirits. It feels good to see the back end of those spreadsheets until next week.
Yeah, that's not the back end of anything.
But it feels like progress. It is progress.
I'm glad it feels like it.
Honestly,
it is progress.
This feels like the most progress we've made so far. There's just something about getting through that part of the game, the part of the admin task that I was just dreading every single week. It's finally gone. We can do something a little bit different now.
This is where this is coming from as well.
What's that?
You being like, well, we're going to blow through the rest of the turn.
Well, what we do have, I can
to hit the accelerator because these are not going to be as fun as you think they are.
They are. So what we're going to do now is give you a bit of a breakdown as to what is coming up next in terms of steps. So a brief recap as to what we've actually ticked off so far. So we start with the initiative determination phase. That's quite easy in this scenario because I go first.
And then you pick me and go first.
And then, I get to pick who goes first. I picked you. So that was nice and easy. Then it's strategic air planning stage, which I can't do because I I don't have any planes that are in locations that will allow for strategic air movement. I can't bomb Malta. I have no planes that are in the area to bomb Malta. So that was nice and easy. You did. You planned something. You planned to try and find my shipping convoys.
Didn't.
And you failed. So
no, nothing there.
Nothing happened there. Then it's the designation phase, which was to assign airplanes to fly land support or strategic missions. We assigned pretty much all of them to land support, and because of the weather, we can't do them. So that's also ticked off. Fantastic. Axis Malta availability determination phase. That's nice and easy because it's an abstracted table, and because of the scenario we're playing, it's fixed in one area. And again, because I don't have any planes in the area, nothing happens. Then was the Malta raid phase. As you may have guessed based on what I just said, nothing happened. Then it's the naval convoy phase. The naval convoy schedule phase, which I actually did do. So that was to plan my shipping convoys. They are en route. They are not all that far away now. So that was picking which ships are dropping off which supplies to which city. So we've got that to look forward to. That was something I actually did. Then it's the convoy resolution phase, which didn't really come into it because it's just lane assignment. And then after that, yeah, you didn't even get to find them.
I didn't find anything, so I couldn't bomb it.
You didn't even get to assign to the lane. You didn't do the recon part of that. Then it was store expenditure, which you've heard us talk about recently. That was actually distributing the food. So we did do that. And after that, well, part of that, by the way, is also the evaporation, isn't it? Yeah, that's evaporation. So that means we are now in first operation stage.
Yep.
So the first operation stage, first point, is initiative declaration phase, which we did early because we were trying to put together an idea as to how this works. So we did that a long time ago, as we did weather determination phase. We've been backfilling the admin. So we've known what the weather was for a little while now. Then it was the organization phase, step 1 being water distribution segment. We've just done that.
Okay.
So now that takes us on to some more steps. So shall I give a quick rundown as to what we've got in store?
Yeah, let's have a little preview before we get to it next week.
So next, we've got reorganization segment. That is where we can attach and or assign different units, reinforcements, replacements. There won't be much activity there because at the moment, I don't want to touch anything. I think you've got some stuff in mind.
I'm going to do a little bit of stuff there.
Yeah, so you're going to reattach or reassign some units.
Yep.
Make a bit of movement just for the ease of getting people around. That's fair enough. I'm keeping mine as is. I think I'm going to be quite stationary for these first few stages while I get food and water to everyone.
It's fair.
Then is the attrition segment. That's any losses because of lack of food or water. That can't happen yet because there haven't been enough stages without it. However, that's coming up real soon for my guys because they are not going to be fed or watered very well.
Next stop stage.
Yeah, next stop stage, people are leaving. People are dying. Then we've got construction. Now,
we need to look into a bit because
yes, because that would be great.
Does block construction in
Yeah.
the middle free map tiles, but there might be some construction happening on maps A and E at the far ends.
Yeah, the peripheral maps might get a bit of action because you can build things like minefields, you can build fortifications, extra airfields, airstrips. So there's a lot of things you can build with a lot of utility. However, because it's just the peripheral maps, it might be not worthwhile. It also uses up stores, which are also food.
Have you got any road missing or anything, or
yes.
want to make a shorter route?
So there's definitely some utility within that, but the weather limits that. And the last few parts of this organization phase are the training segment, which is to get replacement points for units. Again, we've not really lost anyone, so not a huge amount of utility in that yet. The supply distribution segment, which is to unload and load trucks. There's a little bit of utility in there that will be useful and used. And then finally, the tactical shipping segment, which is moving our ships that are on the map, not the ones that move from off-map locations. So that's moving the close quarters ships, if you will. So that covers off the organization phase. And then we've got some more phases to come, but we'll not get too ahead of ourselves. That's what's coming in the near future. And as I've said, in a lot of those, there's not a whole lot. So ideally, and I'm saying this through my rose-tinted glasses, that won't take too long this time. That's the caveat this time, because we are Well, flying through those ones probably, because this time round, the weather and the starting location of all my stuff means I can't do a thing.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, we won't be doing those segments as fully as we'd like, I guess, because of the weather. Yeah, I mean, I hope we fly through them, but we did think we were going to start moving things about 8 weeks ago. So,
Well, we are
I
moving
want to
things.
share your optimism, but
I'll tell you what we're moving, Andy. We're moving mountains.
okay, I know. Okay,
We're moving mountains. We're moving hopes and dreams from
this doesn't mean anything.
from esoteric, nebulous spaces in the ether into the hearts and minds of not just you and I, but all of the downtrodden, hopeless souls that are listening to this and thinking, "Come on, I just need this. I just need them to beat the game so that I can have that spark in my heart again, so that I can be me again."
Okay, and that's all absolutely great, but
My face doesn't say that.
my point was it might be longer than we think before we move our units around.
Okay, right. I see where you're getting at. So I think we can meet in the middle there.
hope and moving. That's
Don't
all,
do that hand gesture like you
That's-
didn't believe what I just said.
That's all great.
You're not saying that like a man who believes it's great. You're saying that like a man who doesn't care what I'm saying, and you want to talk about, it might take a while to do that. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It matters. What matters is how we feel doing it. How do you feel doing it right now, Andy?
Frustrated.
Why? What about this is frustrating? What about it isn't heartwarming?
I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. But something feels off.
Something's not quite right, eh? Well, I think overall everything is going absolutely swimmingly. All it took was this little zesty pick-me-up of completing some spreadsheets and getting to the end of it to really wake me up. That's what it was. Okay. That's why I was sleepwalking through my life. It's because I hadn't finished that spreadsheet. Now that I have, my eyes are open. The sky is blue. The birds are singing. I can feel my heartbeat again, Andy.
You're not going to finish that spreadsheet for 8 years. You finished a
Shut your mouth!
You finished a row on the spreadsheet.
Shut your mouth!
You see,
I
I've
don't
been
wanna hear
kind of
it.
positive up till now, and you've been quite pessimistic, but I feel like we flipped this afternoon for some reason.
Yeah, because you don't like that now I know whether or not my men are getting water. You wanted that to break me.
The not knowing.
The not knowing. You wanted the uncertainty to cripple my strategy. And it didn't. How do you feel about that?
Well, now I'm certain they're all dying of thirst. I actually feel better.
They're not all dying of thirst. Not until next op stage. I'm going to get water to them before
No,
then.
no.
And there's not a force on heaven or earth apart from that rainstorm.
They're not dead
that will
from
stop that.
thirst yet. They have started dying of thirst.
Oh, we're all dying of thirst technically until we stop it from happening. You're dying from thirst right now. Probably because you haven't drank any liquid for 4 days. That's wild.
Well, I've got to get in the mindset.
What if
I
my
wouldn't
soldiers...
ask these guys to do anything I wouldn't do myself.
These aren't guys, these are cardboard pieces with magnets strapped to their ass.
Which I also tested.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that.
I can't get out of this chair.
Every time you sit on a park bench, there's just a clunk as you get stuck to it for weeks.
It's a rough life.
That's why we're having to do all of these play sessions al fresco. In a park.
That'll be fun. We should take this outside at some point.
We shouldn't. We're never taking this outside.
Get it to a local park.
No. No, we're not taking it to a
Take
park.
all the benches up.
Just put it down on a football pitch at a park. That'd be good fun. You know what else is good fun? Communication.
Oh, okay.
You hear that?
That could have gone anywhere.
That little... Well, I was going to do the sound effect today, but instead, I'll just leave it to myself in the future. Oh, James! There we go. See? See what I did there? Synergy between me and my future self.
Well, at least you're on the same page about something, eh?
Yeah, I've connected with myself in the future. Well, we've had, as always, some fantastic correspondence from those people who are trying to bridge the gap between the deserts of our minds and the outside world, trying to invite that little bit of light into this place. So
We
let's
do need it.
hey, it's already filled me up today. So let's see what we've got going on. You've got the one to open this up, I believe. Our
Yeah.
first little bit of correspondence. What we got going on?
Dear Andy and James, stop. Love the podcast. Stop. Particularly like recent historical context segments. Stop. If you could add, remove, or change one rule from the game, which would it be? Stop. Subtle, humble, and brave. Stop. Ren. Stop.
Now you.
P.S. I wear poncho regularly. Stop. Long live poncho.
So, for context, that email has the subject line Telegram. So I think what's happened
Yes,
here.
that was in the format of a telegram. I wasn't editorializing by saying stop.
Because when I first read that one and didn't look at the subject, I thought someone was trying to send us a subliminal message to stop playing the game. Just a very ham-fisted one.
That's a superliminal message. It's just a message.
Megaliminal messaging. It's just got the word stop a lot. So it's very creative. It's all in caps as well, so it does feel a little bit like shouting. But I imagine that's what telegrams are like.
Yeah, they didn't have upper and lower case till later.
Yeah, and it's all urgent if it's a telegram. You know, it's like, you got to hear this. This is so urgent, I didn't wait to travel to you. You need to know this right now. So
It's important, yeah.
So yeah, that's coming from Ren.
So
and
rule you could add, remove, or change?
Oh, if I could add, remove, or change one rule. I mean, right now, just for the sheer grueling nature of it, it would be all of that water shit. Right now, probably the pasta rule. I know everyone thinks it's quirky and fun, but when it affects James personally, it's not quirky and fun. It's bad. I'd probably... would I keep that? I think I would. You know what it would be? It would be breakdown points.
You're getting rid of them.
I'd get rid of them.
You're just perfectly working cars.
Yes, and I know that would ruin the game in terms of it being as difficult as it is, but if I've got the choice to remove any, and the game still works other than that, it's the breakdown points, because I think that's going to be one of the worst parts of this.
I agree with that. I think movement is excited to get to it, gonna be a bit awkward.
It's going to be very awkward, because every time we move anything with wheels, we have to consult a chart, roll some dice, see if it breaks down. If it does, all the supplies on it are just fucking stuck out there in the desert. So there's so much of it that's going to be a real hassle. So that would be it for me. What about yourself? Have you got anything aside from that?
No, it's a perfect game.
You Berg apologist.
I think, honestly, it really, again, defeats the whole point of the game. I think I'd consolidate, like, fuel stores. I'd just make a supply thing.
Yeah.
And you don't have separate stuff for everything.
I don't know if that might just picked up your neighbour sneezing so loudly that it came through the walls. Well, yeah, I think that would be it. And you've also, there you go, you've got another poncho fan. But to be fair, I don't mind a poncho. It was the capes that, that bothered me. Yeah. So
the
we're
capes,
all right with
no
the
one's
ponchos.
agreed with me, really. Ponchos seem to have struck a nerve.
Ponchos have, so that's because it was the common ground. It's the sensible middle place.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, Ren. That's got us thinking about what we're not looking forward to in future. Sort of putting a damper on my joyous mood. It doesn't feel like a ray of sunshine. It feels like a crack in the ceiling, a little bit of rain trickling in. However, rain also is what we need to water my men. So I guess every cloud.
It doesn't help water your men. Because when we did roll that, we were like, oh, cool, we don't have to do water because they'll just use rain. Nope.
Well, we're smarter than the people in the past, Andy.
I mean, that's just uniformly true.
Every generation we get infinitely smarter. That's how that works. Sorry, everyone prior to me. Sorry, my ancestors. What have we got next? How about a web form from the website? And it's from Marcus. Marcus says, I was going to read out the how can we help part at the start, but that's just what our web form says for some reason. It asks how we can help. It's not really how that should be prefaced. We can't really help with much, but we can at least respond to this. Marcus says, just wanted to say this is a fantastic podcast. Found it due to Cam Sandwich. Binged the entire series over an 11-hour drive through Texas. Looking forward to another 8 years. When is the Huel sponsorship happening? You're sure to become a monetizable podcast soon. Plus merch. A Snuggie would let you have enough room to print the entire board of the game onto it full scale. Well, thank you, Marcus. In terms of the Huel sponsorship, that's a very good question. If anybody has an in with Huel, let us know.
Because they're playing coy at the minute.
They are. They're playing hard to get.
We know they're aware of us. They must be.
They have to be. Just from the sales alone in our local area, I boom them up quite a lot. So if they want some real traction, send them our way. Binging over an 11-hour drive through Texas, that's quite the backdrop. I mean, you've got the heat, you've got the mesas, you've got a lot of stuff that sort of maybe feels like part of the game maybe.
Picture Texas as a big desert.
Well, there you go. So you've drove through the deserts of Texas. So yeah, that's a cool backdrop for that. That's a great way to spend the drive. We're flattered. In terms of merch, is Snooky. I think this message might actually predate the poncho discussion, or at the very least, it's a good coincidence. So maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe a poncho instead. Maybe we got a poncho with the game map printed on it.
That would be a cool poncho, actually.
There we go. Anyone wants these ponchos, let us know. We'll put them together. 20,000 British pounds per poncho. It's not our fault. That's just production costs. So let us know if anyone's interested in that 20k poncho. So we'll see what we can do about mass producing those. Maybe bringing the cost down for those ponchos. What we got next?
The tariff situation on the ponchos.
Well, that's it. The tariffs. Not sure how this will sound in 10 years' time with those tariffs, but right now, it's looking dicey. It's looking dicey. But we do have an international message next from Cedric.
Hello from Switzerland.
There we go.
The only country that lived a more boring World War II than what you are living trying to learn the rules.
Oh, Cedric, you've put a knife in my heart.
First, I have to admit that I jumped over a few episodes. I've listened to the first 5 or 6 ones and went straight to episode 15. And I want to say that I'm really getting more interesting, according to my tastes, obviously. I'm looking forward to listening to more of what you'll publish. I usually play the episode when cleaning the house, and this mindless task is the perfect thing to stay focused on what you're discussing. I know that you already got too much mail at this point, but I have the feeling reading it will be better than being depressed thinking about the game. Spot on. Anyway, 2 questions for you. First, as a wargamer myself, mainly solo, because I never managed to coerce my friends into playing that kind of game, at least the heavy ones. Something that killed a few war games for me was stacks of counters. In old war games particularly, when you have to stack tons of really small counters, it stopped being fun. Is that something that happens in North Africa? Do you have to manage death stacks and move them around regularly? Or is it mainly a game with a single 2 to 3 counter in a single space? I'm currently 49 years old. What are the odds that I'm going to die before you finish the game? Thanks for your service. And from what I gathered, you are both British. I think the fact you jumped into the absurdity of this game, made a postcast about it and forced yourself into getting to the end, while highlighting all that is wrong with it, is probably something that wouldn't come from anywhere else. Have fun, ? Cedric.
Well, Cedric, the hand strikes and gives a flower, because there are some parts in there that really, it broke my heart. It jumped over some of the episodes. Probably for
the best.
I hope you haven't skipped the Bin Weevils one and the one about Michael McIntyre. I imagine you have, though, because they are pretty early on and not at all related to the game. So, yeah, I would say if you are interested in the game, you've found yourself in the right place now, because
Episode
it's actually
15 is the jump-on point for people who want to know about the game.
Everything else is a practice run of the practice run. Yeah. So I would say, everything in there, the questions are really, thankfully, we do have answers for them. The one I'm kind of stuck on is, will you die before we finish the game? I really don't know. I'm really sorry. I don't know.
There's a lot of variables I don't have the values for on that one.
If you could send us your medical records, we will be able to give you a bit of a clearer answer.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Right now, if you feel bad sending it over email, just I don't know, put it on the web form on the website. Send it over that way.
It's a secure web form. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It's encrypted. Well, it's not encrypted, but just email it. But your first question, as a wargamer yourself, you have had issues with the death stacks. Yeah. A lot of counters on top of each other. That would be a massive issue in this game. Part of the saving grace is that the HQ units, they encapsulate all of the attached ones, the smaller ones that are part of it. So one HQ counter can represent what would be otherwise about 30 other counters. The game does have those 30 other counters, for example. They all represent the individual units, and at any time, as part of the reorganization phase, you can break off those counters and have them wander off in their own direction. So we could, in theory, have, at any given time, and this isn't even unrealistic, 50 to 60 counters all in one hex.
But we're represented by one or two.
Yes. Oh, well, I mean, if you wanted to break them up and, unattach them, you could actually have all 60, for example,
there is
on top.
There is another mechanic that stops you doing that. There's a limit on stacking. So each, tile or unit has a stacking point value. And then, I think it's terrain-based. There's a limit to how many stacking points you can have in a square.
Yes.
So that stops the death stack to a certain extent as well, because there's a mechanical limit on how much you can put in the same place.
Yes, so some terrain you can have, for example, off the top of my head, I can't even think of what they would be, but it's sort of, like a stacking limit of 10, for example, and smaller units would represent 1 point on that stacking table. So you could have a lot of smaller ones all stacked up, and then I could have some, so we could both have, say, 10 stacked up, 20. HQ units don't really count towards the stacking value. Then you can have trucks, airfields. So you can have a lot of stuff stacked on that does really mount up those numbers. It's unlikely that it would happen because of the fact we'd rather have the HQ units. And the more mechanical element to it, in terms of physical logistics, is we've got magnets on them.
Yeah.
And if we want to stack it up vertically at the end of the play session, we need to find a way to try and evenly distribute them. That's less about the gameplay. That's more about how we actually put the game away afterwards. So be careful with it.
The game also has breakout zones where it's like, this city's going to have a lot of people in it, so we've added a square for you to put extra stuff in. And because of the magnets, we can also just use post-it notes. So if we do have a hex that would end up with a death stack for whatever reason, it'll likely end up in a breakout zone.
Yes.
So we won't have
the cities, for example.
Yeah.
The cities have a lot. Tobruk is one of them. So Tobruk has a holding box on the map next to it. So you can put in. It's a box that's the size of sort of 6 or 7 hexes. So you can just pop in a bunch of units on there to represent that they're all in Tobruk, and it saves you having to stack them up because you will have units coming in from shipments. Yeah. You'll have reinforcements. So it's a good place to hold them. So yeah, it is something the game has actually tried to remedy to an extent. So you mentioned it is in older war games, yes, and this game has actually thought that through to an extent.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if it holds up when we start throwing both armies into very small areas.
So yeah, we're interested to see how that pans out. So that's how it's looking for now. Hopefully you don't die before we finish it, but to be fair, if you feel like things are getting a little bit dicey, you've already skipped through a lot of the episodes by the sounds of it. So just let us know if things are looking bad, and we'll give you the spoilers.
Yeah.
We'll tell you what we think will happen.
I'm gonna win.
No. Well, also, don't give away the spoilers on the pod.
Oh, sorry.
We're only 16 episodes in or something. Well, 20 actually. And yes, we are British. Yes, accents probably give that away to an extent. We are British.
I do like the idea that being stupid enough to do this is a uniquely British trait.
I imagine, we are probably marred by other nations for that. And to be fair, I just had a look there. The subject is brackets. It's hard to write the telegraph sound. We appreciate it though. The onomatopoeia is always appreciated. So thank you for that, Cedric.
Thank you.
Who do we have next? Oh, this
is a good one.
This is a corker. So this is from Schmungus Joe. Thank you already, Schmungus, for the name alone. Hey guys, I found your work through the Cam Sandwich cameo and have since listened to all 18 episodes that have come out so far. Thank you. Good binge. I was struck by your recent conversation regarding what supernatural creatures would be most useful in your endeavours in the Desert War. I would like to propose the Dunhaven Hooter, a fearsome critter of northern United States folklore. Folklore. Jesus, that was a... I mean, I just had to read out Dunhaven Hooter, so give me a little bit of a break.
Yeah, that's why I'm sort of... How did you fall over on folklore?
Because I was focused on Dunhaven Hooter.
That's fair.
I don't even know if I'm saying that right. The Dung
It's not
Evanuda.
real. It's fine.
The Dung Evanuda is a crocodile-like creature that is purported to be excellent at hiding with satanic cunning and surprising, oh my god, surprising their prey in an instant. Their prey is said to be almost exclusively people. It prefers drunk people, but I'd imagine it could do the average soldier in a pinch. And then we've got pros and cons. Pros. The Dung Evanuda needs no food or water to survive, so it would not be a drain on your already thin supplies. Which also means it wouldn't be on the spreadsheet, so I love that.
You wouldn't have to keep track of that. That's perfect.
Oh, yes! In fact, the Dung Evanuda has no mouth at all. Instead, it instantly pulverizes their prey to vapor and huffs the vapor through its unusually large nostrils.
Which is just insane.
That's a cool pro. I like that a lot. Cons. The Dung Evanuda usually hides behind brush or bushes, which I imagine are not in abundance in North Africa. However, I would like to think it could be trained to hide in supply drops instead, further highlighting its utility as a trained assassin. I hope to see a Dung Evanuda piece in all future playthroughs. Sincerely, Schmungus Joe. And we also have an incredible illustration of the Dung Evanuda.
You do have to put that on the Instagram.
I will be putting that on the Instagram.
Yeah.
That is. So, that's some fantastic work there, Schmungus Joe. That is.
Oh, yeah, it's great. I like the idea of showing up to a supply dump, but it's like, is it a dummy supply dump or real? Or is there a dummy Evanuda? It's like, oh, if there is, what happens? Well, the unit's dead. It's been huffed.
Yeah, they get turned into vapor, of course.
Yeah.
We have to roll, probably at that point, on the Dung Evanuda vapor table to determine how much of them are vaporized. That is also affected by the bad weather, how hot it is, how dehydrated they are.
Does the Dung Evanuda have a sinus infection?
That's
so
a good
it
point.
Can't sniff up as many people.
Is it one of its ill days? Is Rommel there? Because if Rommel's there, then he can't inhale at all. He's flabbergasted by the presence of such a man. So there's a lot of things to factor in there, but that is some incredible research, and the pros and cons list. Wow. We will definitely be looking to put our own Dung Evanuda piece into the game. Probably not in this one, but what we will do, I guess, after the full playthrough, is do the supernatural version.
Yeah, we'll
of
add
the desert
cryptids, we'll add the camel rules, we'll add our errata.
Yeah, we'll do New Game Plus when we finish the first playthrough. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you for that, Joe. That gives us a whole other view on what kind of monsters and beasties should be introduced.
Thank you very much.
So, we'll do one more, shall we? Let's have a look.
I've got one here.
Oh, it's actually this is a second email from somebody who we've actually replied to previously, Patrick, and that's because it actually ties into something that you were already going to talk about, I believe.
So, while you read a question about there being espionage, it reminded me of the Enigma machine being cracked in 1940. Are there rules for it, such as after turn 57, the Allies get to ask one question per every 10 turns about the Germans' movements? And the German player has to be honest about something, such as truck movement or what is shipping, would be an interesting concept. Thanks again, Patrick.
Also, Patrick, we will have to check to see, because he's mentioned turn 57 there. I'm going to have to check and see if turn 57
that's probably
aligns.
right.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check and see if that aligns with the actual date, because each turn is a week. Yeah. So we're going to get back to you on that, Patrick, because if you've done that research, hats off. Ponchos off. I believe you've got quite a bit of information on that one there, Andy.
But just to answer the question about Enigma in the game first, there's no specific rules from what I can see in it. I imagine they've been sort of like looped into the reconnaissance chances and the Mediterranean or stuff like that. But yeah, there's no explicit rules. But it does lead nicely into, we're going to talk about Enigma for a bit.
Yeah, into Enigma.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Cool. First off, give you a bit of intro on signals in general in this period, because Enigma's the big one you will have heard of. That's the machine and encoding they use for high command. But underneath that, you'd have like merchant fleets or businesses would also all have their own ciphers. So there's this sort of big environment of ciphers and networks that all interact with each other.
So Enigma was, because that's the one that Turing famously played a big part in decoding. There's the film The Imitation Game, which I've seen.
Yeah.
That's sort of my only knowledge of Enigma.
Right, yeah. So I'll jump into Enigma then. Enigma's not a specific advice. Enigma's a brand, kind of like Kleenex or tissues.
Or tannoy is for loudspeakers.
Yeah. Yeah. So when they talk about breaking Enigma, they're not breaking one specific thing. It's
Okay.
the device evolves and changes over the war as the techniques do. It's sort of a war back and forward.
Okay.
But the way it sort of works, without going too crazy into detail, is it's got a typewriter keyboard, and then above that there's another keyboard. And when you press a button on the typewriter keyboard, a bunch of gears and stuff rotate, electrical signals get all scrambled, and it substitutes it for another letter.
Okay, so I'm typing on a laptop keyboard, for example.
Yeah.
I hit W and it hits an E instead.
Yeah, and an E would light it up. And then the person sending the message would then copy that new message down, and they'd send that encoded one over Morse code and signal like radio waves.
Okay.
Because you can't do directly point to point. It's radio's area wide, so anyone can get it.
That's
the
a good
signal
point.
you send, so you need to encrypt it.
Yeah, so you almost type it out. I guess, yeah, typewriter. It's almost like typing it out onto a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Some guy then gets the message that's just complete gobbledygook.
Yeah.
And then sends that.
Yeah, and then to decode it at the other end, someone who was listening to the frequency on a specific, like, radio frequency would then take the message and then set their Enigma machine up exactly the same way, and then type in the scrambled message, and then the right letter would light up on the top keyboard.
Okay, so they would have to know the configuration.
Yeah, so they'd send them off with, like, on this date, configure this way. Like, these are the settings for one day, and then the next day the settings are different.
Okay, right.
Yeah. And part of what made Enigma so difficult to crack was when you pressed a like a letter and got a new one, the gears and rotors would then move and refix. So the next letter, it's not exactly the same like substitution thing.
Okay, so I press that W. First time it substitutes for an E. And then I press the W.
Chunks away in the machine. Press W again, it might be K.
Oh, okay, right. I didn't know that. I
And then
thought it would be the same letter constantly. So every keystroke is a random substitute.
Yes.
Okay, right. Well,
Yeah.
that's probably why it was so hard
Yeah.
to crack.
Well, that's basically what you're doing with encryption, is you're turning a structured, ordered message into as close to a random number as you can.
Yeah, okay.
And then it gets decoded because you can't make it fully random, as it were.
Yeah, of course.
But so, I'll just look at it here. So there's 5 different things in the Enigma machine they can change. There's like rotor wheels, ring settings, the way the electrical's set up. So there's a bunch of different things. So there's like a crazy amount of settings you can get. So basically, when you send a message with Enigma, there's a 3 to 10 to the power of 114 options, like possible permutations.
That's pretty wild. I mean, I've seen a video, slight tangent, on how big 52 factorial is.
Yeah.
In terms of shuffling a deck of cards.
Yes.
And how there's more combinations to shuffle a deck of cards than there are atoms on Earth.
Yeah.
And
then this is orders of magnitude, so it's...
And this is 100 instead of 52.
Yes.
So, yeah, we're talking about... It's essentially infinite.
Yeah.
It may as well be infinite.
I mean, yeah, functionally. Which is why the Germans were so fine to use it for so much of the war.
Of course, I'd be confident with that.
And theoretically, it shouldn't have been breakable, except for procedural failures that reduced the randomness slightly. So, decoding of Enigma starts with a German man called Hans Philo Schmidt, who works in the German Cypher office in Berlin, and has access to some of the Enigma documents. He's also a French spy.
Oh, dear. Oh, Schmitty.
Yeah. So in December 1931, he hands these documents over to the French, who have a crack at decoding them and just go, no, and hand them. So they get in touch with the Polish and the British and hand these resources over. And the Polish are originally the ones who start to make progress.
Okay.
Like a lot of it. Especially a guy called Marian Rejewicki and the Polish Cipher Bureau. They go to work and break Enigma for the first time in December 1932, so a year later.
Oh, wow. So this was actually technically broken well before the sort of famed breaking of it in 1940, I think it was.
So they had cipher text. They had a lot of the stuff. So what they essentially develop is like a bunch of mathematical tools to attack Enigma.
Okay,
to
right.
try and get the daily codes and stuff, which includes a bunch of like very advanced maths, which now like underlies a lot of information theory and modern cryptography still.
So these guys were some of the progenitors for
Yeah.
a lot of stuff probably still used now then.
Yeah, like absolutely. And they have sheets where they've pre-calculated like all the permutations for like the ring segment. So
Okay.
they can like go through that and they can be like, so this is how the rings are set up. And they gradually break it down. And they decrypt it partially because the Germans have bad information procedures. So like the first part of an Enigma message is a key that they then use to decode it. But they found people were using like AAA or like BBB, for instance, or like keys next to each other on the Enigma keyboard.
Okay.
When they were meant to be totally random.
Oh, right. So
you-
somebody, it's like typing a password as password.
Yeah.
They were just not conscious of being careful on top of the security that it provided.
They wouldn't repeat their own codes as like one guy. But if you're using like AAA BBB and there's another lazy guy, he's also going to use AAA BBB.
Oh, and you all get the same configuration.
Yeah, and then you've got two messages where you've got the same key bit.
Yes, okay.
So
that
if
makes sense.
they weren't there, like if those mess ups weren't there, it would have been actually impossible rather than almost impossible.
So, as always, it's human error.
Yes.
That has
like,
caused
messes
a
up the
massive
maths.
issue.
Yeah.
Because you've got a machine with infinite permutations, and then all it takes is a person, or I guess multiple people, to be lazy with it and not use the tool correctly.
They also, what they were doing a bit later on, but another example of the mess ups is messages would go out from German high command on Enigma, but then it would like arrive at a local area and then they'd use a lower level code.
Oh, okay.
And then they could go, well, this message came through, we tracked this Enigma message we can't read, but then there was an order to like send a bunch of planes off, so that Enigma message would contain the word planes.
Right, okay.
Stuff like that.
So they can then determine the content of the message in essence.
To try and, yeah.
Right, okay. I'm getting to how they might have done that now.
Yeah. So the Polish cryptographers are doing like great work here, but Poland's about to get invaded.
That will probably hamper efforts, I would imagine.
So they flee to Romania and from Romania to France and set up something called the PC Bruno, which is kind of their Bletchley Park.
Okay.
It's outside Paris. So they've cracked Enigma, but it's not in a timely fashion at this point. So they can break some Enigma messages, but it might take months.
And they change daily, did you say?
And they change daily.
Yes.
So
It's pointless information at that point.
yeah, you can't act on it in a timely manner at all. But then they hit another setback. 1938, they had 2 extra rotors. They used to be 3. They had 5, which changes the possible combinations of just the wheels from 6 to 60. And then you think of all the other things multiplying together. It's a factor of 10 on it, basically.
So now a factor of 100. So yeah, it's 110 factorial now, rather than 100. So it was already infinite, but now it's got even worse.
Yeah.
And that also sets back, I guess, all of the theory that they had behind it before.
A lot of the tools still work, but the sheets of calculations they've done ahead of time all need to be scrapped because they're not valid anymore.
Oh, God.
All that pre-work.
You know what? I feel a lot better about playing the game now, knowing what the horror... That's like if somebody showed up tomorrow and they went, oh, by the way, we've added another rule book, so you now have to relearn all the rules.
Yeah. So the first decryption of a wartime message is 1940. The 17th of January, they decode a message that was sent 3 months earlier, which with their updated machine. So they now know they can break Enigma. They just can't do it in a timely manner.
I guess also like the game.
Yeah. Which is where Bletchley Park comes in. Because what they essentially do is it goes from this sort of like high-level mathematicians doing like crazy long calculations and stuff. Bletchley Park industrializes it.
Okay.
So first it's like they hire people who do crosswords, like anyone who's good at puzzles and stuff gets hired and taken to Bletchley Park. And then like those sheets I mentioned, they'll be applied in one hut, and then like another technique might be applied in another.
Okay, right.
And then this is where Turing comes in with they're called bombs, cryptological bombs, which is a cool name, which is the first computers that led to Colossus, which is when they end up breaking Enigma. Most days they get the code before midnight.
Oh, wow. So they're getting it now on a daily basis.
Day to day, yes. Which comes next... This leads to the next really big problem you have with this, which is you've got all this information about what the Germans are doing, but the second you do something and act on it in a way you can't justify otherwise, they will know their codes have been cracked.
Which, to be fair, Imitation Game, I know you'd mentioned to me that the film might not be very accurate based on the information that you've got, but that is something they touch on in the film, so I'd recommend maybe watching it just for maybe even that part. But yeah, you make a really good point, because you blow everything out the water.
Yeah,
if you give that away, then that's every piece of work you've done. Like you said before about adding the extra 2 wheels, at that point, everything you've done up to that point is ruined, and you've given the game away. So yeah, how does that pan out?
So one, distribution. This is where they set up Ultra, which is ultra top secret, which is above top secret, which is a very short list of people on Earth who have access to this information. It's like presidents and generals in the field.
Which I believe, actually, Montgomery was a part of.
Yes, Montgomery utilized it a lot, because some generals didn't like it and didn't use it particularly well, from what I can see, and other generals were like well into it and saw the value. So to distribute it, they'd have liaison teams, they'd decode the message, encode it with their codes they knew the Germans hadn't broken, fire it off to the theatre where they'd be decoded. Someone would take the message to the one person there, the general who's allowed to read it, show him it. He wouldn't be able to copy it down or anything. It's just like, remember this. And then it would be destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want that to get out, so...
But some of the ways they obfuscated, which were quite fun. Well, not fun, but yeah. So, for instance, it had a huge effect on the Battle of the Mediterranean. A couple of ways. One, the Germans used Enigma to organize a parachute drop to try and take over Greece.
Okay.
They decoded that and basically set up guns at the landing sites for these paratroopers. So they jumped out of the plane just directly into gunfire. It was a complete disaster for the Nazis, which is a key reason why Hitler never went forward with the invasion of Malta.
Oh, wow.
Because it would require parachute drops, because it's an island. So he had the failed invasion in the back of his head.
Yeah, because if that happens again, and Malta, I would imagine as well, compared to Greece, you're looking at a much smaller scale to work
defended.
with. So if that went bad in a bigger area, a whole country, Then, yeah, wow. Yeah, that will put the fear of, not God, but guns into him.
Yeah. And to use it to hunt convoys, for instance, they'd get the Enigma thing in, decode it, and be like, right, there's a ship leaving from, like, Sicily to Tunisia. We send out a plane on a scouting run to where we know the ship is going to be. The German ship sees it and radios off a message like, we've been spotted. And then they go and attack it, having known where it was the whole time. But they need the observation planes to be spotted.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. So at one point, it becomes the Nazis suspect the Allies have 400 submarines in the Mediterranean and a huge fleet of reconnaissance aircraft at Malta. In reality, they had 25 submarines and at some points as few as 3 aircraft for reconnaissance.
Oh, that must be... Because, I mean, a lot of Nazi high command, I imagine, don't survive to find out the facts. But the ones that did, the ones who found out those numbers afterwards, must have felt like a right bunch of prats.
Yeah. Well, I'll go over it next week. Next week I'll do it specifically how it's involved in the North Africa campaign. But Rommel, at various times, was pretty sure the code had been broken because of the way things were reacting. But he never had enough sway to be like, we need to abandon this whole thing.
It's a massive thing to ask people to drop. So Rommel was ahead of the curve then, eh? Oh, dear.
Because, they had Enigma machines for High Command, Army, Air Force that were all slightly different. So it's that thing of the Enigma not being one thing. They broke the Enigma probably dozens of times in different variations.
Wow, yeah. That is, to be fair, yeah. I mean, I've only seen the film mostly about Turing, to be fair, that film. So that is a hell of a backdrop on what Enigma was and what it was doing.
Yeah.
And it does lend a lot of... Well, Patrick's question was, does that play into this at all? Unfortunately not, but that would be, oddly enough, a very cool rule
to
have included. And I've got no doubt Richard Berg would have put that rule in if he was given a bit more time. And that is, very cool background on Enigma.
Yeah.
I was going to say I understand it now. I understand the principle of it. Yeah. Probably couldn't decode the thing, but I probably could. I'm on high at the moment. I'm in good spirits. I could probably decode it.
Well, because it's all mathematical, you can just program them in modern computers.
Yeah.
So you could just make an Enigma decoder. But yeah, just one last thing about this before we move on to Common Ground, because I thought this was insane. When the Poles were cracking the device, they never physically saw one. Using only mathematical principles and intercepted messages, they built an exact copy of an Enigma machine, despite the fact they never physically saw the designs or like one of them.
So when you say exact copy, so it looked more or less identical
and functioned.
The function I imagine would be the same. Do you know if it looked
pretty similar? It's not quite the same layout and stuff, but
in essence, it's the same machine.
So they essentially made a device
that
was on the other side of the world by looking at radio waves with maths.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's awesome. Wow. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, damn, that is a hell of a background on cryptography and espionage.
Yeah.
Something that we don't get to do a whole lot of in the game, so it's fun to have the background on that. That's as always, you've delivered some incredible history, Andy. Thanks. Something pretty smashing, and going into Common Ground almost feels a bit odd because I feel like I'm very on board with what you've delivered here. I also think Enigma is exciting, but should have been cracked and was cracked. But I suppose we'll have to instead settle on finding some common ground elsewhere. Another point of unified decisiveness. Something else to not so much bring us together, but I guess just keep us close at the moment.
Yeah. Okay.
Stop us from drifting apart. Because we started this one off really not in the same headspace, it would seem.
No.
However,
we've worked our way,
we've
worked our way into it.
Maybe the real common ground were the things we've talked about along the way. No, I do actually have a common ground.
Oh, good.
And now for something nicer. A little oasis in the war. It's time for some common ground. I'm trying the intro for common ground. I'm recording. Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, my common ground is, it actually relates to, I suppose, intelligence in a way.
Okay.
My common ground is, we should just give everything over to AI for a month and see if everyone was right.
No. Just such a bad idea.
Everyone who's thinking, films would be bad if we let AI write them, television would be bad, information, social media, logistics across the world, the economy. AI is going to fix it all. AI is going to do the world wonders. Or, I guess, conversely, AI is going to take over. Let's find out. Let's get it out the way. Because if it is going to end the world at some point soon, in the future, let's find out. Let's just do it now. Let's give it a go.
Okay, I disagree with your odds there slightly.
Okay.
Your options of it works or becomes sentient and takes over the world. I think there's a 4% chance of it takes over the world.
That's an interesting...
A 1% chance it works. And a 95% chance it doesn't take over the world or anything. It's just really shit.
Yeah, I think that probably will be the more likely outcome.
And we just see.
Yeah, we just see. And then everyone can shut up about it.
Okay.
I think it gets it out of everyone's head.
It'll
Because
be
then
a
we can...
really rough month, but it might be worth it for people to stop.
Well, I imagine it's probably what the cinema industry went through when 3D became a craze with the red and blue glasses. It's like, this is it. This is the big one. And then, no, it wasn't.
Yeah, but they were using those glasses to, like, run hospitals.
No, that's true. That's true.
There's a stakes issue.
There is. And it's going to be a hard month. There's going to be some difficult things that come on the back of that. But that's AI's decision to make, not ours.
I don't mind the idea we'll find a little parcel of, like, land for AI enthusiasts to move to. And then AI can handle that bit. So it doesn't fuck up everything.
So we take the AI enthusiasts.
Yeah, they get to live in their utopia.
Okay, so we take the AI enthusiasts. They get to go and live in their supposed utopia. We also get the AI skeptics, and they can observe it all.
Yeah.
And see if it does take over, and if it does doom that little pocket of land. And then both sides get their answer.
Yeah, and everyone benefits because two very annoying groups are busy elsewhere.
Yeah, the AI doomsayers and the AI fanatics are all off in some observation centre.
Busy.
It's a bit like the Stanton prison experiment.
Yes, but bigger and with robots.
There's no... Oh, actually, yeah, robots would be a fun way to add some spice to that.
Because the AI will become like one of the prison guards.
Well, it has to by its very nature. Whether or not it goes well or not well, it does become the overlord for that period of time. And whether that means it gets stuck in a logic loop where it just continues to go over and over, or if it does what a lot of AI text models seem to do, which is eventually becomes racist, and they need to try and stop it from doing that. It's a fun little thing they're going to have to deal with there. Whether or not it dams that little sort of population pocket, or whether it, I don't know, maybe saves them from the churn of dystopian future we're hurtling towards, it fixes it. It just ticks it off.
I do like the concept of, like, let's just give this a try for a bit and everyone shut the hell up.
I just think it's gone on a while now, and all of this, it's like the Y2K thing. It's like, yeah, I mean, I suppose, yeah, that would be scary if it happens, but we don't know if it will or not. This way we know. This way it's done and we can stop worrying about it. No one needs to fret anymore. It's one and done. I think that's a good way to remedy that situation.
When you presented it, I was very firmly against, but you've talked me round.
Yeah, I know. Your thoughts on AI are very...
I'm a skeptic.
You're a skeptic. You don't think AI is very useful.
No.
I also don't think AI is very useful. I think AI has we use AI. I think we might have mentioned this before. We just use AI to generate pictures for our D&D campaign.
Yeah.
We get AI generated images to stick up on our screen to go, well, this is what the town looks like that we're in, or this is what my character looks like, who's a bear who uses the stars to see the future. This is, something that we use for a little bit of fun. We don't use it to run our bank accounts.
No.
I'm also not scared it's going to run my bank accounts because I've been generating pictures of an orc who has a silly hat. I don't fear it. I don't treasure it. I think it's a little bit of fun.
Okay.
And I think right now that's all it really is. And I don't think it'll really get to be more than that. It's a nice thought that it would be some massive benefit one day. I don't know about that. I also saw Journey to the Center of the Earth with 3D glasses, and that didn't change my life. It didn't even change the life of Brendan Fraser, who was in that movie.
I can barely remember it.
Yeah, well, it's probably because you had those stupid glasses on the whole time, and instead it was a case of, are these the right size? Is there something I'm doing wrong? Why does the film not look as good as I was promised?
It would be very funny if AI is also just, for some reason, slightly more cumbersome and less usable for people with glasses.
I mean, yeah, that's what that was.
Yeah.
AI should be like 3D films or paintballing, where if you've got glasses, it's just not very fun. Which is ironic because, of course, you associate you personally, I guess, the way I'm loading this. You personally associate wearing glasses with being both nerdy and an AI with being nerdy. So there you go. If you're a nerd, you've got glasses, and if you're a nerd, you love AIs.
I think there's different types of nerds.
You think?
Yeah.
You think they're all just one big melting pot of hyper intelligence and
Certainly not hyper-intelligence.
Then what is a nerd?
Just a socially awkward guy who likes maths.
No, I've met nerds who don't like maths.
No.
Or at least nerds who are bad at maths.
Yeah.
They're not even real
There's
nerds.
2 of them here.
Where?
The other room.
Ladies and gentlemen, Idris Elba in the building. Idris Elba, I don't mean that. I don't
mean you're in the building.
I don't mean that you're in the building. I don't think you're a nerd from what I know of you, which is admittedly very little.
He boxes and talks about gold in documentaries.
Oh,
That's like
God.
the opposite of being a nerd.
Oh, and he's a hooligan.
That's a type of nerd.
It's a colloquial term for fans of Huel.
Yeah.
Don't know if you got that.
No, I did.
Because you're not in the Huelosphere.
Yeah, that pun went straight over my head.
I could tell you were looking around the room. So I think what we've come to a conclusion of today is that we've made incredible progress. Just unsightly strides in what's going on in the game. We've decided that Enigma, very fun to talk about, very scary in practice. Unlike AI, which is fun in practice, fun to talk about, doesn't really do anything though. And nerds have glasses and are not Idris Elba. Anything else that you need to add to that? Or have I summarized everything?
Cutting-edge cultural analysis.
There we go. I've got my finger on the pulse of society. And now I'm going to...
Oh, look, it's dead.
I'm going to take that finger off now. I'm going to take that finger off the pulse of society. And I'm going to give it back to society. It's in your hands now, people. What you choose to do with it is entirely up to you. But if you want to put any of that cultural phenomenon in our direction, then you can do so at info@warwithamate.co.uk, our Instagram, which is just War With A Mate, and as for our YouTube, well, that's now up.
Yeah.
All the videos are going to be there now, and I say videos, it's just the audio with a still picture of the logo.
But hey, if you prefer listening to stuff on YouTube, it's on YouTube now.
So there you go. You got a few options on how it is that you listen to what's going on.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep on plugging away at the game. I hope you keep on plugging away at that listen button, which is not an actual button, I think, anywhere. And any questions, any queries, quandaries, hopes or dreams, anything you want to send our way. Well, it's an illustration of a monster that's really one of my highlights today.
I enjoy the cryptid info.
Yeah, so you can send it all over. We'll read it out at some point. And I suppose for now, that's us.
Yeah, thank you for listening. Stay subtle, humble, and brave.
And we'll see you out there in the deserts of my mind. Good night.